Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, my guest today, Laure Burke, reminded me of a movie that I watched as a child, actually, and it was called Major Pain. There was a quote in that movie where he said, "Killing is my business, and business is good." Laura has a tagline that says that she kills people for a living. And that it just made me smile when I read that, and I realized right away what it was about. But I'm going to let Laura talk a little bit about that today as we get into this conversation. Laura, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that I really found intriguing was the story about you taking down a person as a bounty hunter. And I wondered if we could just start the conversation with a remembering of that story and how that occurred.
Well, it all happened on a cruise ship.
Uh-huh.
And we, and what was that the captain said that they had a passenger that didn't check out right.
Mm-hmm.
And he was lurking around and he didn't want anybody really to see him.
Okay.
So I made it a point to take him by surprise
Yep.
and found out he was wanted.
Yeah.
So we were able to get him caught with the help
Uh-huh.
of a couple of crew members. He was a pretty good sized guy.
Yeah.
And they locked him up downstairs in one of the supply rooms where he couldn't get out until we got back to port in Miami.
Yeah.
Um, he was really surprised at the fact that this little 95-pound woman
Mm-hmm.
figured out who he was. And
Yeah.
he had been on the watch list for some time. And I used to get copies of people who were wanted on a watch list.
Okay.
And a lot of them were cold cases, and they were from other states, but they would dwindle down to Florida. Florida seems like a magnet to pull
Yeah.
all of these guys down there. And
Sure.
I think he was planning on getting off in Nassau, but we caught him before he got off the ship because we would have never found him if he just stayed in
Yeah.
Nassau.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, now that is just one of the experiences that I'm sure helped inform the writing that you have done as you moved into taking that passion, that interest that you had, and actually putting it pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, however it is for you. But I know that your background wasn't originally working in the area of writing or as an author. If I recall correctly, you were working in the medical field. Is that right?
Yes, I was a nurse for like 18 years.
Okay.
And I worked at local hospitals, doctors' offices, and nursing homes.
Okay.
And that led me to not wanting to do anything else but nursing. But
Yeah.
then I happened to move to Florida after I divorced my husband.
Okay.
And that's how I started writing. My husband now, we went to the beach every weekend, and I
Yep.
was reading about orchids. And I said, I think I'm going to write a book about orchids.
Uh-huh.
And one thing led to the other, and black orchid was born. And there
Okay.
is such a flower. There is a black orchid, but they're very, very rare. So that's how
Yeah.
we started with writing.
Okay. And that book was one that I received as a gift from you, and it was had the pleasure of reading recently. And it is a great storyline. Really enjoyed the characters and the development over time, and surprised me at the end to find out who was the mastermind behind that. So I can see where your interest and experience, because you also worked as a private investigator as well, as part of your experience that you gained, and I'm sure that helped inform you too. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
All of my novels have a surprise ending.
Yeah.
So, and I never know who is going to be the killer or the instrument that did
Yep.
this until I get to the last chapter.
Okay.
So I'm just as surprised as everybody else when you read my novels as to who was the killer.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing that. Everyone has their own unique approach to the work that they do, and in writing, I've heard that is also true. Where there are some that do these really long outlines, 60 pages of all of the details, and have it all pointed out from beginning to end. But it sounds like that may not be fully your process because there is that development that occurs naturally, from what
Right.
I'm hearing.
I
Okay.
I let the characters tell me where it's
Yeah.
going and how it's going to get there. And
Okay.
if they're on vacation, I don't write for a week or two. And when they come back from vacation, they tell me all about it and what to
Yeah.
do and where to go. I tried at first to do outlines, but it just didn't work out because my books always turn the corner and it didn't stick to the outline. So I said, well, scrap that idea. Just put it
Yep.
down like you hear it. So that's the way I do.
That's great. And the first book that you wrote, that the Black Orchid then?
Yes.
Okay. How many years ago was that?
Oh, probably 20,
Okay. All
22
right.
years.
And since then, how many books are you at now that have been published?
Um, I have 14 books that I've
Okay.
published.
Okay.
Um, there's the Maison series, which contains 6 books.
Yeah.
Um, I've started writing the 7th one to finish that series out. And the series, Jolene Mystery Series, I
Mm-hmm.
just started that 2 years ago. And I'm up to
Okay.
the 3rd one in that group.
Yep.
Maison series just kind of left me. That's when I
Yep.
started Jolene.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, does your writing, have you found that your writing style changes over time? I mean, when you just thinking of anyone who has been working at a skill over time, their skill changes and develops and gets refined. Have you found that to be true with the writing that you do?
Yes, I have. Also, I usually attend quite a few seminars online, and
Okay.
I've learned a lot from these experts, I guess you would say. And I've tried to institute that into my writing, and I think that's made my writing better than it was when I first started. And as anybody knows, the longer you do something and the more experience you get, the better you become.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. There are so many more opportunities for people to self-publish or to put books out there in different ways, online as well as in print and audio and other formats. Do you find that this has any like change in the way that you are putting your books out? Are you finding that that market is more saturated? It's more difficult to get people that are interested in your books?
Yeah, because there are so many writers now,
Hmm.
and murder mysteries seem to be one of the key things that everybody goes for. And unless they read some of your books or a couple of your books and they like your style, they're not going to continue buying your books. So
Mm,
it's always a challenge with the marketing to get people interested in what I've written.
okay. Yeah. At this point, what has been your most successful book as far as those that you have had the most readers or the most books sold?
Um, Probably Black Orchid.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
let's see, Murder with No Passion comes second,
Yeah.
and Frozen in Time. And
Okay.
my bestseller was Cleo the Dolphin, which is a coloring book for
Yeah.
children.
Okay. All
Everybody
right.
loves that because a lot of people in the rest homes and nursing homes, they look for
Hmm.
something to do, and their family takes and buys this for them, and it keeps them occupied, for an
Yeah.
hour or so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I think that's a great and unique addition to the work that you're doing is
And I
finding just
don't kill
other
off the
outlets.
dolphin. I keep the dolphin alive.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you did mention before before we started this conversation that you are also working on a romance novel, which
I did.
also.
It's already out.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, that is also one where you don't kill off the character.
yeah, well, no, but that girl walking up to the ship,
Yeah.
she thinks about jumping.
Okay. Okay. It's called Love. What is it? Love on the High Seas. Was that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So another genre, another area that you're getting into. And what was the decision as far as why you decided to write a romance novel when you have so many murder mysteries?
Well, everybody, um, especially females, and I hate to
Yeah.
admit that,
Yeah.
all want to read about love.
Yeah.
You know, romance is their thing. And
Sure.
so I thought I would write a story about a woman who was failing in her marriage and she didn't have anything to look forward to.
Yeah.
And she's going to take a cruise and jump overboard. But
Okay.
something stops her.
Yeah.
And she found love on the high seas.
Oh, okay. All right. I like that concept. There's still that emotional side to it and that potential risk that's involved with that person who's thinking about jumping, and then also the risk of a relationship as
Right,
well. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
There,
Well,
I don't know whether you know this or not, but when I was
mhm.
getting ready to do that short story,
Yeah.
um, I looked up what the statistics were with abused relationships.
Uh-huh.
And I was really surprised that over 20,000 suicides per year are contributed to an abusive relationship.
Wow.
It's not just women, but men too. Some dominating women push men over the edge.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, if they were like me, they'd just kill them off, you know?
uh, I was going to make a joke when you mentioned earlier about divorcing your husband, if where the shovel was, but decided not to. So, um, but
The book that I'm working on right now with the Jolene
mhm.
series is this one, and it's called The Duffel Bag Murders.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was almost ready to kill off the gentleman that does my covers
Yeah.
because he kept using body bags, and I wanted him to use a duffel bag.
Yeah. Okay.
And we went back and forth, but he finally got it because I
Yeah.
told him, if you don't get it right this time, I'm coming for you
Right.
with my 38. He got it right.
Very good. Right. We're not messing around here. uh, there's nonfiction. There's truth to the statement that you just made, that you also have
That's
that
right.
history and background,
Mhm.
and could make that occur should you desire. But I love that you keep it to the stories at this point in time. I think that's really key. And have you found that you provide inspiration to others who are seeking becoming an author or are interested in maybe pursuing some other type of passion that they've put aside for a while?
I try to. I've done a lot of lectures,
Yeah.
and people in the audience, they have that nagging feeling that they want to do it, but they're
Yeah.
scared to fail.
Okay.
And I try to remind them that not everybody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect.
Yeah.
If you have a passion or if you have a dream of doing something, at least try.
Yeah.
Don't give up, because it's like a baby when the baby learns to walk. If a baby didn't get up every time it fell down,
Mm.
it would never walk. So
Yes.
you have to keep your dream, and that's what keeps you motivated to continue to do these things.
Yes.
I wasn't always a writer, but I decided to try it. And if I failed, okay, I failed. So I'll try and do it better next time.
Yes.
And I just kept going and going and going. I can put out a 200-page novel in less than 2 months
Mm-hmm.
if I want to.
Yeah.
And when I first started, it took me 6 months to write Black Orchid.
Yep.
And the next one it didn't take me 2 months. It took me only a month. And then after that, it just fell into place.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that you are able to share your journey, your story with others, and through lectures and these types of conversations, because you're right. If you don't try, if you don't get up and try, you won't know if you would even have a hint of success. And if you don't have that initial success, but you fall and you get back up and you keep pushing forward, you can keep making that progress. Just like that conversation where we talked about over 20 years, your process has refined. You took 6 months to write a book initially. You could write a book now in 2 months, and it's even better in the style and format and writing than it was when you started, because of that progress and improvement over time and things you've learned. Yeah. So with regards to the books and the work that you're doing, is this something that you find, because for some people, they'll look at things like this, it's like, oh, I got to get up and got to do my work, and it's difficult, and I'm not sure if I want to do it today. Do you find that you have to practice some type of self-discipline or schedule or routine to be able to continue to make progress in the books that you're writing?
No, not really. My problem is I have a full-time job Monday through Friday,
Okay.
and I
Yep.
write on the weekends.
Okay.
Some mornings I'm awake at 5 o'clock when I should be wanting to sleep late because I don't have to go to work. And but these guys, they keep nagging at me. You got to get up and write this. You got to get up and do this right now before you forget what we just said.
Yeah.
And so I get up and I naturally turn on the computer and I start writing away. And
Yeah.
I can write both Saturday and Sunday. And sometimes I just have to put my foot down and say, okay, we're only going to do one day this week and we'll do 2 or 3 chapters.
Yep.
And even though it makes them mad, I just say, okay, I've had it. Don't start with me.
Yeah. So it's almost like the characters are really kind of pushing you to put this information down, get up, write.
Exactly.
5 o'clock. You should be awake now and writing, or
That's
it's
right.
Saturday. We should write all day. So you have to actually intentionally do the opposite. You have to intentionally stop yourself at times when you want to do other things, because
Correct.
it's always going to be coming out whenever you sit down at the computer to write. Sounds like the passion is just pouring out in those moments.
Right. And I've already, with Jolene's series, I'm almost done with it for the third book. I've already got another one already lined up to go.
Okay.
And they just keep pushing me. Okay, we'll finish this one so you can get started on the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, are you working with a publishing company or an agency to help promote and support your books?
I work with Author Reputation. They're the
Okay.
ones that are publishing the Jolene series.
Yeah.
Agtex is the one that published my little romantic story.
Yeah.
And they're helping me market that and the other books too as well. And Reputation, they do as well. They market it. But they also depend on me to do a lot of the marketing too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we're doing this conversation today, these kinds of conversations, so you can continue to also promote the work that you are putting out there. Yeah. I know there's a lot of self-publishing, and that's why I asked that a little bit, is I see people who are trying to make it work without any additional support. They're just out there putting it out through Amazon or through Barnes & Noble or some other format. Is there a reason why you would find it to be advantageous to work with a publishing company?
Yes, because sometimes they can pick up on things that we miss when we're doing our editing.
Yeah.
They can pick up on stuff that just kind of we breeze by when we're doing the editing, but they
Sure.
can pick it up and fix it. Um,
Okay.
and also like the marketing and then keeping up with who's doing what to whom and
Yeah.
where I can't. And I'm sure
Yep.
there's a lot of authors out there that do the self-publishing, and they should be very, very careful if a publishing company comes up to them and say, "Hey, I'll do your work, but you have to write the book." And
Yeah.
90% of the time, it doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
it's you need to check them out first before you sign
Okay.
up with them.
Okay. So the importance of vetting the company that you may be working with, it's just like in any business relationship, it's important to know who you're getting in bed with, to put it in those types of terms, but it's important to know that person or that company so that you are able to make an informed decision. Because unfortunately, there are some scammers out there and there are some people who are not looking out for your best interests. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Like I did a lot of self-publishing when I first started.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yes, I went through a lot of companies that said, "Oh, well, I'll do this, this, and this," and they never did anything. I had to
Okay.
do my own covers, I had to do my own editing,
Mhm.
and I had to do all my own marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to be very, very careful. I learned that right off the bat, and it's very hard to get a publishing company to take you on, and
Hmm.
but you have to be real careful if one wants you. And not everybody needs an agent. That's a misconception. Everybody says, "Well, we need an agent." You don't
Hmm.
need an agent. You need a good website, which we have. Um, and you do need to do marketing yourself because the publishing company is only going to do maybe 20% of the
Okay.
marketing, and they
Okay.
expect you to do a lot more.
Okay. That's great words of wisdom right there from the experience that you learned firsthand through your own
Mhm.
experiences of not always having the best people at the best interests at heart, your best interest at heart, but it's now you're able to then more directly vet those companies through your experiences and work with people that do and have your website, they have that support with the marketing. But like you said, you're also doing a lot of that yourself and self-promoting and sharing the story that you have and are putting out there on a routine basis. So at some point, people make decisions to, this is a great passion, great hobby. I'm going to retire from this. Do you ever see yourself retiring from writing?
No, and
Okay.
I'd like to retire from my job so I could do more writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So really that passion that is promoted, that is in there, just pours out, and it's something that you would like to do more of and continue to see yourself doing until the day you can no longer. It sounds like it. Okay.
Um, yeah, I had already told everybody I'm going to live to be 104, and I just
Okay.
learned last week there's a man in South Carolina. He's 106, so now I got to be
Okay.
108 before I can go on. But I have these neat little pens that have the little spongy on the end, so I can
Yep.
always hit the keys with it if I can't move my fingers. So
Okay.
if I'm
All right.
106 or 110, I can still write as long as I have
Yes.
my own faculties.
Absolutely. And I'm certain that voice to text options are only going to continue to improve. So there's always that option as well.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. Yeah. This day of modern technology, you don't even have to type. You just talk into the computer and
yeah,
it does it for you.
exactly. Exactly. I love that you've followed that passion and have been putting your words that are the characters that are pushing these words and these stories out from you to stories that you're putting out there for others to enjoy as well as I have. And now, if anybody wants to find out more about the books that you have already put out and the work you're doing, what's the best way for someone to follow you and to look at your information?
And they can go on
Okay.
authorlauraburke.com and they can see all of my books and they can order them from Amazon.
Okay.
Um, if they want to contact me direct, they can email me at lburke1948 at gmail.com. And
Okay.
I answer all of my emails when I get something from a fan.
Yep.
And I also go on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all the other companies that carry my books just to see if there's any reviews. And if there
Yeah.
is, I try to look them up and give them a thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay. Wonderful. Well, I would encourage those that are listening to check out Laura's work at authorlauraburke.com. Send her an email, lburke1948@gmail.com. And definitely check out the work that she continues to put out there. And if you're more of a romance fan, check out the new book, Love on the High Seas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you again for your time, Laura. I really appreciate this conversation.
Thank you for having me, and I hope to meet you again sometime.
Absolutely. Take